Podium, moderator Konstantin Anatolievich Babkin, President of Industrial. Next presentation, Mr. Klepach, the first deputy of the Minister of Economic Development of the Russian Federation government. Hearing what colleagues spoke, I remember the phrase of Stolypin: whatever happens in Russia, whether the gas lamp is not working, the pipeline is not working, so the government is to blame. But at the same time, if you do this and you collect taxes and you fire irresponsible officials, the state will be also to blame. I would like to single out several problems. We are talking about reindustrialization, and the president and the government declared that this is one of the priorities of the economic policies. Let's see what we have. And if you see the numbers and the facts, so after the crisis, as different to the United States and Europe, our industry, if we are talking about machine building, grows 10% a year. This is true for automobile industry, aircraft building, and industry. Although this grows at the expense of military equipment, we're making only 5 or 6 aircraft per year, but next year we are going to have larger numbers, and Tupolev 204 and SM aircraft, they will be in demand among the military. SNG, which is launched, also suffering some childish diseases, and several years will be required to put them on the wing. And we started to manufacture new airplanes, but we can't sell them, but we are on the way. And agriculture, as per total volume, hasn't reached the levels of 90s. However, we created a fairly competitive sector, and 20 to 15 million tons of grains we export. And cattle breeding, we also have modern complexes and companies. As far as the poultry is concerned, we have a growth of 10 to 11%, and this is the result of the actions both of the business and of the government. And the interest rates were subsidized 80 and 100% in dowry products. We do have many problems. The rates and the interest rate is very high, and there are certain efforts made which are supporting reindustrialization efforts. Speaking about things that everything is very expensive. Fertilizers are exported and 80% goes for exports, and our business requires to sell it with discounts and subsidize it, and the level of efficiency in the industry of manufacturing of fertilizer, there are minimum investments as compared with metallurgical industry, and responsibility should be shared and split between the state and the business. We cannot just simply subsidize what's happening in the industry. Now there is a moment of truth, but if nothing is changed in the attitude of the companies, this is the branch where we will suffer the crisis. I'd like to tell you that there is a crossroad oil companies and energy companies are requiring the prices at the level of the world, and we are approximately 70% of energy as compared with Europe, but we have already reached it the level of the United States. But for retail, for the population, these prices are less. It's a fairly complicated balance, but it is maintained, and the policy of the state is directed to preserve this price discount, and there are certain forecasts for 3 years, and regulation policy will be structured in such a manner so that to maintain this discount up to 2020, although it is not easy. If we could speak about the reindustrialization policy, we come across the fact that the share of oil and gas complex will be falling, for we cannot enhance their production, and the prices in the world will be stable. So 21% of GDP, and in 2020 it will be 15%. If we're talking about education and healthcare and pharmaceuticals, automobile business, communications and telecom, this is approximately 10% of GDP. And the policy and certain complex measures of aircraft building and the money sent there for industrial policy, we spent maybe not as much as we could, but without defense industry, maybe it's 1.2% of the GDP. These are viable resources, and per the plans adopted by the government, so by 2020 the share of this sector will reach approximately 14-16%. These are numbers, but we will have to fight for this progress, and will demand new quality of management, both from the state and from the corporations. Second aspect, which I wanted to comment, which is also very important from the viewpoint of growth. How long we could argue about capitalism and our oligarchs, but the policy which is conducted by the policy, this is not only a declaration, this is socially oriented. And as compared with the European countries and as the Baltic countries, they cut down the wages for the budget workers. We have increased the salaries, the pensions and the salaries, and now we continue to increase wages of teachers and doctors. This is one of the elements to make changes in these sectors, and one of the key challenges is how could we maintain this social orientation and develop it by combining efficiency and labor productivity. For if we could speak about productivity, we are losing our positions even to China and to India. Productivity on automobile industry from 3 to 6 times less. In aviation industry, we cannot even compare, for we are just making only several aircraft a year. We have to improve it 3.5 times by 2020. It's a breakthrough. But in this case, we will not be able to maintain this socially oriented policy of growth without improving the labor efficiency. And in Russia, both at the time of Tsarist Russia and in the Soviet time and now, it is decided not exactly by economic things, but it is resolved by the trust, and not only by the contracts. It's the trust to the personality of the leader of the corporation, to the trust to the region, to the head of the country. If we continue to build up this trust, and when Grzegorz Kolotka spoke about this, the culture is also part of that trust that the person could actually accomplish what he's planned. In this case, we could come to prosperity. Thank you. Thank you, Andrey Nikolaevich. I know that you have to go for a government event. Thank you for coming and explaining the position.